grew up all of my life in North Carolina, actually in Cary, North Carolina. And I've always loved living there. Moved around a little bit, moved to San Francisco, Atlanta, and Dubai. We lived there 4 years in every city until I decided it was time to come home. So I have three daughters, 24, 20, and 16. And when we moved back from Dubai, I was like, that's it. I want to get us settled. We're settled. I live very close to the art museum. So in a lot of senses, I know quite a bit about real estate and the invisible lines inside the Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill area just from growing up here and seeing a lot of the expansion that's going on. It's nice. It's different, I have to say, because going out at 6 o'clock in the evening and dealing with all this traffic was something that I had never thought that I would see. That would take me normally 10 minutes to get somewhere. Now it's like 20 minutes. But with that, a lot of growth opportunity has come up, and I think a lot of people are really enjoying that. It's a great quality of life down here. I think, Emily, is probably what you experience compared to Philadelphia, right? Yeah. So with that, let's get started. I honestly, I just wanted to pull up the numbers for you guys for Raleigh. Now, of course, geographically is really what dictates a lot of what's going on in the market. Meaning, if you were to take Raleigh, like let's say the inner Beltline or 540, and you were to split it in half, the west side is always going to be more expensive price per square foot than the east side. The north is different than the south, right? And there's a lot of factors that determine this. But if we're looking at median list price right now, you're looking at $560,000 for a house, whether it's new construction, whether it's resale. All right. And we'll talk about the inventory in a second because a lot of people like to ask about that. We're still at a seller's market, but we're borderline seller's market. All right. And if you're looking to rent now, it's about $1,900 per month, where the average probably 3 years ago was about anywhere from $1,400 to $1,600 a month, regardless of the type of dwelling. Prices aren't necessarily decreasing, but their homes are not necessarily flying off the market as they were before. And what does that mean? That means that the reason why the prices are not really decreasing is because we don't have a lot of inventory. So a lot of the homes that you're seeing that are coming on the market have been inflated because they're not really catching up with the current market status. So some people are still trying to ride that tailwind of let's price it $50,000 over asking, and then they have to slowly cut back to get to what the current market status is. The other issue we have is because of the lack of inventory, new construction is actually being sold a lot more now. Why is there a lack of inventory? You really have to think about it. Is a lot of people who have their homes and they're at 2, 3, 4, or even 5%, right? Interest rate. Why would they sell? You know, they only have to sell if they have to, they're moving or whatever the circumstances are. There's a lot of cash sellers out there. They bought their homes cash. And so for them, the interest rate doesn't really make a difference. So that's a huge reason as to why we don't have much inventory in the resale market. So because of that, a lot of people are going to new construction. And with new construction, there's a lot of incentives that are being offered, again, depending on how your little micro market is doing. Like on the east side, I'm seeing some incentives as high as $30,000 in incentives. But again, I'm going to let you discuss that about, the mortgage and so forth, because that's just what I'm seeing is $30,000. And I always tell people, you really have to shop around. You can't just go with whatever is nice on paper. Go and shop around and see what the best, deal is for you if you're looking for a loan. On the west side, we're not seeing those $30,000 in incentives, right? That's a stronger market. So it really, again, geography is a huge, factor in all of this. But as far as Wake County in general, the prices have bumped. Our inventory is less. Price per square foot on the average, guys, is $250 price per square foot on the average, though. So don't let that intimidate you. Really, that's where we're at right now. Days of market is slightly increasing because of those reasons. So a home's going to stay on the market a little bit longer. But hopefully with interest rates, if they drop just a tad bit, I think we're going to see that needle move a little bit more. Any questions?
Yeah. So by days on the market, do you mean instead of putting it on the market in the morning and it's sold that night, it lasts a
Hmm.
couple of days now? Because it was crazy. Do you remember that?
Yes, yes, you would only see it once, or sometimes you wouldn't even see it. Um, yes, days on market means when the time it goes active on the market until the time it goes under contract. And so now it just, again, it depends on which little micro market you're in, but the most I've seen so far is like 37 days, 40 days. And then again, there's some pockets where I've seen and it's like 4 days on market. In my neighborhood, actually, there was a condo that came on the market. It was actually a penthouse, but it was 3 days on market for $750,000, and the person came in cash and
Oh.
put it under contract. And
What's it?
this in this current climate, so that's what I'm saying. There's these little pockets that are going. I've seen some $950,000 in Cary, and that was on the market for the weekend. Meanwhile, you could see a townhouse for $350,000 that's on the market for 14 days.
Well, and then what about like if you go to Pittsburgh, it's going to calm down a little bit in a more remote place though, right? Or if you're in Willow
Absolutely.
Springs.
Right. The further you go out, the calmer it's going to be, the more house you're going to get price per square foot.
Oh, good.
So Clayton, for example, we just put one under contract. Actually, it wasn't Clayton. Yeah, it was. It was on the border of Johnson County and Wake County. And that was, we put one under contract for 475,000 with a quarter acre lot. And it's going to be built at about 2,700 square feet. You can't get that in Wake County, not new construction.
Well, that makes
So
sense.
yeah. Mhm.
What are you seeing for seller concessions now?
Seller concessions, typically just towards closing costs. They're not big amounts. It could be in lieu of repairs. Like instead of the seller making repairs, they'll pay for the buyer's closing costs. So that means the buyer comes to the table, the closing table, having to bring less cash to the table.
Right.
But I'm not seeing much. I'm really seeing more in the new construction industry. Like I said, like the $30,000 in incentives to buy down points is the way they phrase it.
Right.
I've seen some appliance packages they've included. So it'd be $30,000 plus the appliance package plus the blinds. That's the most I've ever seen so far.
So they're giving you the appliances? Is that what that means?
Well, yes and no. They sort of build it into the price, but I think they're panicking in a way too, and they want to make sure some of these homes are off their books by the end of Q4.
Oh.
So they'll say, yeah, and they're typically like, the entry level appliances.
Yeah, and what's weird is every house I've ever bought in my entire life always had a stove and a refrigerator. Like that was never like.
That's not standard for us. So standard for us would be microwave, stove, dishwasher, and then you're on your own for washer, dryer, blinds, and fridge.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And so is that every home or just like new construction, right?
I'm only seeing that for new construction, and like there's a period of that for that incentive.
I heard that the other day, and what was stated was, hey, you can go get your refrigerator with your own dime. Otherwise, they're throwing it in and you're paying it down over 30 years.
Exactly.
So you have to decide where do you really want your incentives?
Right. And that's the other thing. When they say $30,000 in incentives to buy down points, buying down points, guys, is just basically you're paying for interest, prepaying interest, right? But my understanding now, and correct me if I'm wrong, buying down points, it's like $10,000 a point. Is that correct?
So when you buy down points, it's 1%. Well, for the price of homes you're talking about, a point is 1% of the price of the loan. And 1% of what you pay and buy down can move your interest rate only by 1/4 of a point. So as lenders, we can only charge in North Carolina 2 points. So I'm always amazed at how these builders can give so much money, but we can only charge the client 2 points in North Carolina, but the builder or the lender can choose to pay a point or two themselves. And that's, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 out of the lender's or the builder's pocket. So that's kind of how it happens.
Yeah, that's good to know. Again, there's a lot of loopholes that builders have Sometimes we wonder how are they getting away with that, but you know, I guess it's part of the industry that we have to roll with.
I'll be honest with you, when they give you that much money, take it. We tell them if that's a better deal, take it, but come refinance with me in 6 months to a year or
Right.
so.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. I agree with that 100%.
Now, sometimes
And
when you go to this new construction, they have a real estate person on that's under contract with them, and they say you have to use that person.
No, that's illegal.
Is
That's
it?
illegal. Yeah. So when you go to a new construction site and you're looking at townhouses or whatever, always that person that's in the office is representing the builder.
Right.
Always, right? They're never going to represent you. They're not hired by, by you. So you're going in there blind, and the builder has a representative, which is the person in the office. Think of it as an attorney and a client relationship, right?
Yeah.
The builder has their attorney representing them in the negotiation. You're walking in and you have no representation if you don't have an agent. That's the way it basically works. Now, if you do take an agent with you, you're hired, like you're hiring, you as a buyer is hiring the agent, but you're not paying the agent. The builder is the one who's going to be paying us, but we represent you exclusively. And I think a lot of people get confused. So if anyone ever tells you that you have a set rate and commission, that's illegal. Commission is never set. Number two, the builder can never say that you have to use their agent, because that's also illegal. Now, they also can't tell you that you have to use their lender. You can use whoever you want, right? So if anybody ever tells you that, that's how you know there's something fishy going on.
Ah,
right.
Because I have definitely heard both of those things. Or the way they word it is, if you use our person and our lender,
then you get these incentives.
Right. And if you don't, that's off the table. So it's like blackmail.
Correct.
I've had coffee out of that cup. Yeah, because I'm going there. So I drink the coffee out of it because I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Does anybody else have questions? I feel like I've asked too many questions.
I have a question.
Great.
And I'm not sure really if this is even the right venue to ask it, but it's hearing you talk about, how quickly things are moving made me wonder, when we are in a place where we're going to buy a home, we're going to be using a VA loan. And I'm curious to know if sellers, from what you've seen, have a preference in the type of loan that they accept, or if it more so comes down to what's the offer, what will we put down, etc., or if like the loan type itself comes into play when a seller is considering offers.
So, and Miranda, I'm going to want you to elaborate on this as well, but I'm not seeing that currently. I was seeing that when we had the boom and it was like crazy. And when Linda was talking about like a house could literally be on the market for an hour or 2 hours, and sellers were extremely picky, and they wanted cash, or they wanted the cleanest type of loan, which I guess they consider like a jumbo or a conventional loan. But currently, no, that's not the case. Our typical market is what you're seeing right now. This is more of a normal market. When the boom was happening, that was obscene. It was crazy. I mean, it was to the point where I was like, honestly, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was disgusted by a lot of sellers, because I'm like, you're killing people out here. If you don't have $50,000 cash, you can't come and play with you. Like, that's just not right. So a lot of, there was a lot of, and there's a lot of backlash, by the way, from that boom market. So now that things are going back to normal, I'm not seeing that as a VA loan. I mean, we just purchased one using a VA loan out in Four Oaks, and it was very smooth and very nice, and we didn't have any issues at all. Miranda, what are your thoughts on that?
What was the last part of Emily's question? Was it like, was there any prejudice against the VA loans or something?
Yes.
Yeah. Like a year ago, I was hearing, and as you said, is it Sherine? Is that how you pronounce your name? Sherine. When everything was moving so quickly, everybody just wants to get to the closing table and get paid. And I mean, like, people want to sell their house, the realtor wants to do their job, the lender does, so they want cash and conventional. I understand that there are a lot of wonderful realtors that do promote, hey, let's support our VAs. They've supported us, and look at it. But what I hear is, because of the guidelines, FHA and VA, that sometimes when people have other pre-approved offers, they might put them in different stacks. Is it right? Is it wrong? You know, I don't like that. Because if the job has been done with a pre-approval letter, then you have a conditional pre-approval and your loan should go smoothly. But, you know, I guess it's up to the seller of the home as to what they want to, you know, gamble on whether or not the closing table is going to be there on time.
Well, so that's my question. Is it faster to close with a conventional, that fixed 30, you know, that sweet loan that everybody gets? Or does it take longer to close a VA loan? Is that what's going on?
I will tell you that all loans move at the speed of the client. Honestly, what I've been seeing is it's what the underwriters ask for and what we can get back to them. So no, all loans should be able to be closed within, you know, the prescribed 30 or 45 days, and some loans close faster than that.
Okay.
So
So
when
it's
the
not like the
conditions are
VA
met, the loan
mandates.
closes.
Because I know you have all these rules, like you get the closing, you have to wait 3 days after the disclosure. So are the rules different for VA than for conventional, or the rules are the rules?
No, all paperwork needs to be seen 3 days before you go to the closing table. Only the investment type loans don't have to follow that guideline.
But everybody, even
Right,
so
right.
Oh,
But
okay.
things can literally change the day of the closing, and a good closing department will fix the numbers and you can still sit at the closing table that day.
Right. Yeah.
I just want to say thank you both very much for answering my question.